In the soft glow of morning light, disciples gathered around the Buddha beneath a sprawling banyan tree. A gentle breeze carried the scent of jasmine, filling the air with calmness. Among the disciples sat a young woman, her face heavy with sorrow. Her name was Anaya, known for her diligence and kindness in the village. On that morning, her eyes were downcast, her mind seemingly trapped in endless worry. The Buddha, noticing her state, turned his compassionate gaze toward her. "Anaya," he spoke softly, "what burdens your heart so deeply today?" Anaya hesitated, her fingers clutching the hem of her robe. "Master," she began, her voice trembling, "I feel trapped in my own mind. My thoughts torment me, reminding me of past mistakes." The Buddha listened intently, his presence a calming force in the morning stillness. "Tell me," he said, "how do these thoughts manifest themselves to you?" "They come unbidden," Anaya admitted, her voice carrying a tremor of despair. "They tell me I have failed too often." The Buddha nodded, acknowledging the weight of her confession. "These thoughts you describe, do they serve any purpose?" "Anaya?" She looked up, startled by the simplicity of his question. "I do not know, Master," she replied. "Perhaps they remind me to strive harder." The Buddha reached for a small pebble lying nearby, holding it up for all to see. "Consider this pebble," he said. "It is neither heavy nor sharp, yet it is unnecessary to carry on a long journey." Anaya furrowed her brow, unsure of the meaning in his words. "Master, what does this pebble represent?" "It represents the unnecessary burden of self-criticism," the Buddha explained. "It seems small, yet it grows heavier with each step you take." He handed the pebble to her, his eyes filled with gentle wisdom. "Hold this pebble, Anaya, and walk to the stream nearby. Return to me once you have felt its weight." Obeying his instruction, Anaya rose and walked toward the stream, the pebble clutched in her palm. Each step felt insignificant at first, but as the distance grew, the pebble seemed to grow heavier in her grasp. By the time she returned to the banyan tree, her hand throbbed with discomfort. Placing the pebble before the Buddha, she spoke, her voice tinged with newfound understanding. "Master, what began as a small weight became a source of pain as I carried it further." The Buddha smiled, his serene expression radiating kindness. "So too are the burdens of your thoughts. Anaya," he said, "they may seem insignificant at first, but when carried endlessly, they become a source of suffering." Another disciple, curious and seeking clarity, raised his hand. "Master, does this mean we should ignore all thoughts of self-improvement?" The Buddha turned his gaze toward the disciple, his voice steady and wise. "Not so," he said. "Thoughts that guide you toward wisdom and growth are like a lamp illuminating your path. But thoughts that weigh you down, serving no purpose, are like the unnecessary pebble. Learn to distinguish between them." He paused, allowing his words to settle among his disciples like ripples on still water. "Anaya, do you now understand the nature of your thoughts?" Anaya nodded, her expression softening. "Yes, Master," she said, "I see now that I have been carrying burdens I do not need." The Buddha gestured toward the pebble, at his feet. "Leave this pebble here, Anaya, just as you leave behind the burdens of your unnecessary worries. The path ahead is lighter when we let go of what no longer serves us." Anaya knelt before him, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you, Master," she whispered. "Your wisdom has lifted a veil from my eyes." Another disciple, inspired by the exchange, stepped forward. "Master," he said, "how can we learn to recognize the pebbles in our own minds?" The Buddha leaned forward slightly, his presence radiating warmth and patience. "Begin by asking yourself these questions," he said. "Does this thought guide me toward growth? Does it weigh my spirit unnecessarily? If it serves no higher purpose, place it gently down." The disciples nodded, their hearts absorbing the simplicity and depth of his teaching. The banyan tree stood silent witness, its leaves rustling as if affirming the wisdom shared beneath its branches. Anaya, now free of her self-imposed burden, joined her fellow disciples in meditation, her heart lighter than it had been in years. As the sun climbed higher, its rays illuminating the sacred ground, the Buddha spoke once more. "Remember, my disciples," he said, "life is filled with choices. The choice to carry a burden or to let it go rests within you. Choose wisely, for the freedom of your spirit depends upon it." The disciples bowed their heads, the weight of his words sinking deep into their hearts. One by one, they rose, each carrying with them the profound lesson of the pebble. Another day, beneath the spreading branches of the banyan tree, the Buddha sat in quiet reflection surrounded by his disciples. A young man approached the gathering, his steps hesitant, his fine robe bearing creases of frustration. The Buddha observed him silently as he settled among the disciples. His expression marked by unease, the Buddha turned his gaze toward the young man, speaking with calmness. "What brings you here today, my child?" The young man lowered his eyes, his hands restless. "Master," he began, "I have done all that is expected of me, yet I find no peace." "Tell me," the Buddha said, "what expectations weigh upon you so heavily that they rob your heart of tranquility?" "My family," he replied, his voice tinged with sadness. "They wish for me to succeed, to carry the honor of our name. I have tried endlessly." The Buddha regarded him thoughtfully, his voice steady yet gentle. "And in all your striving, have you considered your own inner voice? Does it align with your actions?" The young man furrowed his brow, confused by the question. "Master, I do not understand," he admitted. "I thought duty was my only purpose." The Buddha rose and walked a short distance, retrieving a small stone from the earth. He held it up for all to see. "Take this stone," he said, handing it to the young man, "and walk the forest path until you feel its weight." The young man hesitated, uncertain, but obeyed the instruction, clutching the stone in his palm. He walked under the shade of tall trees. At first, the stone seemed light, its presence barely noticeable in his grasp. But as he ventured further, each step magnified its weight, until discomfort overtook him. Upon returning to the banyan tree, the young man placed the stone before the Buddha. "Master," he said, his voice strained, "this stone has grown heavier with each step I took." The Buddha nodded, his expression serene. "So too are the expectations others place upon us," he said. "At first, they may seem light, but when carried endlessly without pause, they burden the soul." Another disciple raised his voice, seeking clarity. "Master, are you suggesting we reject all expectations placed upon us?" The Buddha turned to him, his eyes filled with warmth. "Not so," he replied. "Some expectations guide us toward growth and enlightenment. Others weigh us down, like the stone carried too far. Recognizing which serves you and which holds you back is the wisdom you must seek." He paused, allowing the words to settle within the minds of his disciples. "Tell me, young man," the Buddha continued, "in carrying this stone, did it serve your purpose?" "Master," the young man replied, shaking his head, "it only reminded me of my discomfort, though I continued to hold it." "Leave the stone here," the Buddha instructed. "Free yourself from carrying the weight that serves no purpose, and walk with clarity instead." The disciples nodded in understanding, the lesson resonating deeply among them. The young man bowed before the Buddha, his heart lightened by the simple yet profound wisdom. "Master," he said, "I will strive to honor my heart's wisdom as I honor my family. Thank you for your guidance." The Buddha gestured toward the forest path. "Each step you take must honor the truth within you. Expectations that nourish your spirit will carry you forward." Another disciple stepped forward, his curiosity evident. Master, what if we fail to overcome fear? The elderly man asked, his voice still tinged with apprehension. Failure is but a step on the path, Buddha replied. Buddha's disciples stood nearby, observing the transformation with quiet awe. Creativity requires trust, Buddha explained. Turning to address them, the young man, now free of his self-imposed weight, joined his fellow disciples in meditation. His mind felt lighter, his spirit unburdened, as the sun reached its zenith, casting golden light upon the sacred ground. The Buddha spoke once more. Remember, my disciples, he said, life is a journey of choices. The choice to carry the weight of expectations or to release it rests within you. Choose wisely, for the freedom of your heart and spirit depends upon your discernment. The disciples bowed their heads in gratitude, their minds embracing the wisdom imparted by their master. One by one, they rose, each carrying the profound lesson of the stone with them as they walked into the unfolding day. Another day, as the sun dipped toward the horizon, the Buddha sat beneath the banyan tree, his presence serene. A farmer approached, his steps heavy with despair, his face etched with lines of worry and exhaustion. The Buddha observed him in silence, his compassionate gaze unwavering as the man settled before him. Master, the farmer began, his voice trembling, the rains have not come, and my crops wither. My labor feels wasted. The Buddha listened intently, his expression calm and understanding. Tell me, he said, what troubles your heart the most in this moment of difficulty? The farmer lowered his eyes, his hands resting on his knees. Master, he replied, it is the thought that I have no control over my fate that torments me. The Buddha rose and walked to a nearby well, filling a small clay bowl with water. He returned to the farmer, placing the bowl on the ground. Observe this water, he said. What do you see within its surface? The farmer leaned forward, studying the still water. I see my reflection, clear and unmoving, he answered, his voice soft. The Buddha nodded, his gaze steady. Now watch, he said, gently shaking the earth beneath the bowl. The water rippled, distorting the reflection into wavering patterns. Master, the farmer said, alarmed, my reflection has disappeared. The ripples have disrupted it entirely. The Buddha smiled, his voice steady and calm. And what do you believe caused the ripples to disturb the stillness? The shaking of the earth, the farmer replied, his brow furrowed in confusion. And what happens, the Buddha asked, when the shaking ceases? He stilled his hand, allowing the water to return to its calm state. The farmer watched in wonder as the reflection slowly reappeared, the surface of the water smooth once more. Peace returns to the water, he said, his voice tinged with awe. The Buddha gestured toward the bowl, his voice gentle yet firm. So too are the circumstances that surround your life. My child, he explained. The ripples of hardship may disturb your inner peace, but it is within your power to remain still. But Master, the farmer protested, his voice filled with doubt. How can I remain still when my fields lie barren? My work undone? By understanding this truth, the Buddha replied, you cannot control the winds or the rains, nor their absence. What you can control is your own response, your own inner peace. Amidst these trials, another disciple, seated nearby, raised a hand. Master, he asked, does this mean we should accept hardship without striving for change? The Buddha turned his gaze toward the disciple, his voice carrying the weight of wisdom. Not so, he said. Strive with effort and intention, but do not be attached to outcomes beyond your control. The stillness within you is your anchor, even as you work diligently to change your circumstances. The farmer looked up, his face softening as understanding dawned within him. Master, he said, I see now that my despair comes from clinging to what I cannot control. The Buddha smiled, his eyes filled with gentle reassurance. Release the illusion of control, my child, and you will find clarity amidst the chaos. Cultivate patience and trust in the unfolding of life. The banyan tree stood silent, its branches swaying softly in the evening breeze, as if bearing witness to the exchange. The disciples listened intently, their hearts stirred by the profound simplicity of the Buddha's words. The farmer bowed low before the Buddha, his voice filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Master," he said. "Your wisdom has given me strength to face my trials with a calm spirit." As the sun set, casting golden hues upon the sacred ground, the Buddha spoke once more. "Remember, my disciples," he said, "life is filled with waves beyond our control. Yet within you lies the stillness that no storm can disturb. Seek that stillness, and you will navigate the trials of life with wisdom and grace." The disciples bowed their heads in reverence, their hearts imbued with the lesson of the ripples. One by one, they rose, each carrying the wisdom of the Buddha as they returned to their paths. The farmer departed as well, his steps lighter, his spirit unburdened by the weight of what he could not change. It cuts the chains that bind you to suffering, opening your heart to peace. Dhanananda looked at the pond, his gaze fixed on the reflection of the sky in its clear waters. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.